Okay, well, shout out to producer Jim for coming up with a much better title sequence for the show. That it was giving like very atomic age nuclear apocalypse vibes with the whole countdown ticker. So that's great. Hello and welcome. yeah. So it's 11:59, 1 minute to midnight. Hello and welcome to State of Play on MintPress News. We've got a big episode for you because everyone on every platform who is anti-fascista is getting suppressed. And we here at MintPress News are also dual posting to the Colonial Outcast podcast platform, the Anti-Imperialist podcast, your problematic uncle who intermittently disappears during Thanksgiving dinners to sneak beers in the woods would hate. So we've got a big episode here for you about Hasbaristas, mass deportations to torture camps in foreign countries, and the social media influencers profiting from war. We could do a Patreon plug here because we are actually not really profiting. We are demonetized on YouTube, X, and like all platforms. So check out MintPress News on Patreon if you're picking up what we're putting down. But anyways, this is going to be more of a didactic activism episode here, more so than objective journalism. I actually no longer believe that journalism should be balanced or objective. We saw the liberal media in Germany during the 1930s try to have objective editorial stances like let's hear and present both sides of the argument. Meanwhile, the other side of the argument was literal Nazis. So anyways, we ain't going to do that here at MintPress News. We got information war to wage. And to that end, we are joined by two wonderful guests. First, we've got I Am Blakeley, the incisive Brooklynite activist who spends a lot of time owning the Zios and the libs. According to your chaotic Twitter bio, you are a songwriter, white trash belly ring enthusiast, non-binary, lefty Christian, coffee fanatic, Dashman mom, and patriot. So that's cool. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yes, dachshund mom, as you can see. Sorry that they do have to be featured, but if I put them in the other room, they will bark. No. But yes. That is right. And you can just call me Blakeley. I Am Blakeley's just my handle. Like you can just
Okay, we're just going to call you Blakeley. And I can see by your profile banner that you're in Bushwick, which for the non-New York audience is a neighborhood in New York City. I actually dated a witch in Bushwick in my early 20s when I was still at Columbia University. So I feel like that's a really Bushwick thing to do. Didn't work out, thank God. But anyways, again, thanks so much for coming on.
It's nice that you knew where it was. Well, I actually don't live in Bushwick anymore, but I did live in Bushwick, and that is my photo. I didn't just take that off Google. I did take that picture about 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, usually when I come to the city, I either have to be like around Alphabet City in Manhattan or Ridgewood out in Queens. But yes.
Love Ridgewood.
Mm-hmm. Who doesn't? And anyways, speaking of other New Yorkers, we're also joined by anti-Zionist diva, capo, arch, self-hating Jew, Jacob Berger. Actor.
Thank you so much. Such a warm introduction, Greg. It's quite an honor. No problem.
I got you, bro. Every time I'm in proximity to you, the death threats and bot spamming ramps up.
Remember when they love us together,
We were at that stolen land sale, the clandestine stolen land sale in Queens. And I guess the Uzbeki Zionists both found out who we were. And I woke up the next morning being like, how did I just gain 25,000 followers on Instagram overnight? Because
they're being petty,
because they spit sick a bot
farm on bots and stuff like they spam bots and things like that, try and mess with your engagement and things like that. Yeah, that was a pretty crazy
My hate goes up too whenever Jacob and I put out a video together. I think a lot of his haters will come to me and they all assume I don't I guess because Jacob is Jewish and he's much more well known.
You're a Jew.
They think I am too. So then I awkwardly have to correct them and be like, actually, the death threats you're sending me, I'm not a capo. I'm not a self-hating Jew. I'm actually
I know
you can pass for a Jew.
Yeah, that's what they say. They say I could pass for a Jew, which actually makes sense. Now I understand why sometimes the Orthodox Jews will come up to me on the street and go, "Are you Jewish?" when I'm in Manhattan.
Right.
Well, here we are, all people associated in some form or another with New York City. one of the Zionist capitals of the world. So yeah, you're going to catch some heat rounds. But anyways, before we get into the main segment, and while people are still filtering into the live, I just kind of wanted to talk about Hasbara in general and some really interesting developments. I want to talk about something the Hasbaristas are freaking out about right now, and that is the Trump administration's handling of the Iranian nuclear deal. Real quick, it's very interesting watching this go down.
Peace through strength.
Okay, so this is Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy to the Middle East. He's responsible for handling the direct nuclear talks with Iran. The first round was in Oman, and now I think the next round is going to be in Rome. But one of the reasons the Zionists are freaking out is because the Trump administration is kind of like, you know what? We might actually allow them to keep their nuclear program as long for civilian purposes. And for Zionists, that is a hard no.
It resonates throughout the world. This is not a threat on my part now. It is just a simple fact. The president means what he says, which is they cannot have a bomb. The conversation with the Iranians will be much about two critical points. One, enrichment. As you mentioned, they do not need to enrich past 3.67%. In some circumstances, they're at 60%. In other circumstances, 20%. That cannot be. And you do not need to run, as they claim, a civil nuclear program where you're enriching past 3.67%. So this is going to be much about verification on the enrichment program, and then ultimately verification on weaponization. That includes missiles, the type of missiles that they have stockpiled there, and it includes the trigger for a bomb.
Yeah. Anyways, a pretty innocuous interview. Sounds very reasonable. Of course, this is like Netanyahu government's like worst nightmare that we would not bomb.
Right, have talks without them. Yeah. There's no Israel with them, right? It's America and Iran having the talks, right?
Right. So, and of course, one of the foundational policies of Israeli foreign policy is the Iran issue. So yeah, they're freaking out. The interesting thing watching the Hasbaristas, which we're going to get into, the social media influencers, aside from like Michael Rappaport, a heavily female, equally good skin routine though with Michael Rappaport though.
He actually made a post today. He was interviewed in the Post saying that he thinks that he's not getting jobs in Hollywood anymore because he's pro-Israeli.
Yes, I saw
that. The Muslim-run Hollywood industry, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, they're freaking out, but they don't really have any incisive commentary into the Iran nuclear deal. It's basically just all focused on the rise of anti-Semitism, and we're going to get into that in a bit. But this episode's not just about Hasbaristas, Israel influencing U.S. foreign policy and domestic policy, because even if the Palestine issue wasn't happening, we're still seeing the same material conditions manifest as we would if it wasn't even an issue. And now we're mobilizing the term terrorist in order to basically get rid of political dissidents. So I just wanted to reflect before we really dive into the Bukele, El Salvadorian prison, world's coolest dictator shenanigans that's happening right now, that when the libs got so pissed off at the Palestine movement and said like, sorry, that's your only issue. I'm not a one issue voter. Bro, we said from the beginning, this was all connected. Like the deportations, the anti-Palestine stuff, the weaponization of the police, the expansion of the prison industrial complex. Like, it's not a single issue. It's just like the most visible manifestation of all these things that were going on in the country before you guys got back from brunch and were like, oh shit, Trump's going to be president again. So any points on that before we get into it?
No, I mean, it's it's just shocking, honestly, to see the way things are going. But like with Iran and everything, I mean, it goes to show you that the only solution is diplomacy. Like, and that's what they should be doing with Palestine too. Like, because there's clearly not going to be a military solution to any of these conflicts and things that are going on.
Yeah.
I have so much to say about the Iran deal, but in regards to, just before we get into it, just saying about the thing about how it's all connected and how the libs don't seem to understand that, is they think that what's happening in El Salvador, I saw a picture today from the El Salvadorian prison that reminded me of what the IOF was doing to Gaza. And if people don't understand that these things are all connected, then just remember that yesterday Trump told Bukele that we have our own homegrown problems and we need to build more prisons in El Salvador to do something about that. Who's that?
Yeah, who's homegrown? It's you. And I'm glad you brought that up, because if you want to dive into the Iran deal, we could definitely do that too, because we got time. But this is his hot mic moment. Of course, conspiracy theorists were like, he intentionally
He probably knew he was going to get hurt. He likes to throw things out there and test and see how the people react and stuff.
Yes, exactly. He does. He floats a lot of trial balloons.
Yeah,
to see, like, how the media is going to react.
All right, well, here we go. Trump to Bukele. Homegrowns are next. The homegrowns. You got to build about 5 more places. It's not big enough.
They love you. They love what you do. I'm not here to support them. I want them to do, homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said, homegrowns are next. The homegrowns. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right?
Oh, yeah. I think that's the first time I've watched like that much of the clip. I didn't know there was so much laughter about that whole thing.
Yeah.
They're taking joy in it. They're excited to put political prisoners far, far away in an El Salvadorian. I mean, at least I'll finally get to meet all of my favorite pro-Pali content creators. We'll all be in El Salvador together.
Well, hang on, Jacob. Because El Salvador is the visible place, but they have expanded and reopened Guantanamo Bay. So I think that's probably where we'd go. All 3 of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Probably. And this is all also happening as they are assaulting the universities and telling them that they're going to take away their tax exempt status. And he's amping up the attacks on Harvard because they said that they're not going to basically allow him to take it over. And of course, the so-called free speech right, the intellectual dark web of right-wingers who spent years grifting and profiting off of pretending to care about free speech are now all cheering this authoritarian attempt to take over the universities.
Right. They're also cheering the mass deportation ICE raids as well. And I would like to kind of use this as a moment to reflect now that Trump has hot mic'd his intention to send U.S. citizens to industrialized torture camps in El Salvador under Bukele, the world's coolest dictator. I believe it's time to reflect again on the poem or the speech, First They Came, by German Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller. The poem itself, or the speech itself, is instructive precisely because Niemöller was a complicated figure, right? A right-wing anti-Semitic Nazi supporter. He was imprisoned for speaking out about the state control of churches. It's probably already too late, but if you're going to get stuck in, now's the time. Your religious affiliation, your proximity to whiteness ain't going to save you from the goon squads. And the state will systematically work its way up the privilege ladder until it comes for you. The road to fascism is paid. It's literally paid by people telling you that you're overreacting. It's just illegal immigrants, right?
And that's the thing. I think a lot of Americans won't take it seriously until someone that looks like me or you, Greg or Blakeley, is sent to the El Salvador, or whatever it may be. Because right now it's brown people, so they don't care. But once it's related, whoa, what's going on? They're sending white people down there, because that's just the white supremacist nature of the America that we live in.
Right. And, first they came for the communists and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I am not a Jew. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak out for me. And I don't think like fascism, classic neo-fascism that we're seeing right now, looks like exactly like the classic fascism of the 1930s, but trends.
I'm sure they'll come up with some snazzy outfits soon that all the Trumpies will wear, something very sleek with eagles and,
also,
some kind of uniform.
And I think a lot of people like don't understand that things look different in a modern age, or that they don't all happen at once. Like a lot of people, because it's easy to look back at history, always act like to give the most extreme example of like Nazi Germany, like it all just happened at once. It didn't all just happen at once. It happened slowly. It happened in steps. And also like, it's not going to look exactly the same as it did in the 1930s or 40s when we live in 2025 and have an insane amount of technology. Like, no, fascism in 2025 looks like them monitoring your social media and then showing up at your immigration hearing. It looks like them putting cop dogs on the fucking street in Denver. Like, it's not going to look exactly the same.
Right. Again, because they can have kind of a less visible approach than sending like brown shirts into the streets to bust unions, in the 30s. But yes, and I think this is a great segue. I want to look at Carolyn Leavitt. She is the press secretary for the White House. She just gave this press conference a couple hours ago before recording. Listen to the language that's being deployed and how it's coming from people in the pro-Palestine movement. It's coming from people in like the anti-immigration movement. We're just all gonna get slapped with the blanket word terrorist.
Our administration will not rest until every single violent illegal alien is removed from our country. The safety of the American people is too important to settle for anything less. On that note, the Democrat and media outrage over the deportation of Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 El Salvadorian illegal alien criminal who is hiding in Maryland, has been nothing short of despicable.
I just want to make one point. Like during her first month as press secretary, she had this like giant silver crucifix, but she doesn't wear it anymore. I wonder.
Apparently, she took it down because there's a TikToker who makes fun of her and uses a big gaudy cross, and she got really, and she even addressed it in a press conference. So
which I actually do love, because I can't and I'm saying this as somebody who is a Christian, I can't fucking stand that all these fascists wear those giant ass crosses. Like I can't. They're so hateful. It's basically like to me, if I see somebody, and it's usually some blonde woman wearing an enormous cross, I know that they're about to say some fascist shit.
So absolutely, and the bigger the cross, the bigger the dog whistle. Also, so she got trolled and stopped wearing it. I thought it was because the silver crucifix started to burn her flesh, but I guess that makes more sense.
Both valid, both valid. But I don't get she's calling him a terrorist, even though they said that he didn't do anything.
Right. This is about a minute long, and she contradicts herself, and that's kind of where it's like, oh. It really doesn't matter. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do anyways.
Based on the sensationalism of many of the people in this room, you would think we deported a candidate for Father of the Year. That's because
they were so triggered that one of the headlines was Maryland father illegally deported, and they can't get over it.
Fortunately, many in this country care more about this quote-unquote Maryland father, a legal alien MS-13 gang member, than a Maryland mother and an American citizen who was brutally murdered at the hands of a different illegal alien.
As if they care about her either.
No, but this is why the main segment we're going to tie into Hasbaristas, because literally it's the same kind of cherry-picked atrocity propaganda,
right?
Used now to militarize the deportation program. It's the same strategy that they're using to bomb hospitals in Gaza as well.
Totally, and not only that, but also first of all, I guess they decided they were going to amp it back up to 2003 and start using everybody as a terrorist again. Now that the gang member in MS-13 has kind of worn out, people don't really care. So now they're like, okay, we got to bring terrorists back, which I would implore anyone when you hear that word to become extremely suspicious. And and the thing that really gets me, I doubt there's any right-wingers in this chat, but if a right-winger happened to come across this, I can't get over how little they seem to understand that this could come back to hit them as well. Like, do you not get that there were a lot of people that said that people who were associated with the January 6th riots were terrorists, were domestic terrorists, and should be spending life in prison? How short is your memory? Like, do you not understand that? And you know what? Actually, what gets me is they don't care because they think it's not going to come for them. That's it. Because you do understand when it comes to the right wing, understanding the left's overreach of calling them domestic terrorists, they get it. But then when it comes to them, they're like, oh, no, everybody else is a domestic terrorist because they don't think it's going to come back around for them. But you're a fool if you don't think it's going to come back around for you, because terrorist is a word that the US and the Israeli government especially love to use, usually reserved for Arabs and Muslims, but they'll use it on you too, or they'll call you somebody who aids and abets it.
Right. And I would like to remind everybody that the word domestic terrorist actually came out of the 90s when environmental activists were doing direct action against corporations. So it's all.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's where the whole domestic terrorism thing, like eco-terrorist, comes from. But yeah, that's a great point. I'm going to keep playing this because it's an exact demonstration of what you just brought up.
Of course, I am referring to Rachel Morin.
Administration officials made it very clear that El Salvador is responsible for Mr. Abrego Garcia, yet El Salvador's president said we're not going to do anything with him. So my question is, who is responsible for this man and where he's going to end up?
Well, no. First of all, President Bukele said that he is not going to smuggle a foreign terrorist back into the United States of America, as many in this room in the Democrat Party seemingly want him to do. Abrego Garcia was a foreign terrorist. He is an MS-13 gang member. He was engaged in
none of this has been proven. There's been no due process. He was literally just disappeared at night.
They just throw out like a million buzzwords and see what sticks. Like it's
yes.
He illegally came into our country.
There was actually a pause, an order to not deport him specifically by the federal court.
And so deporting him back to El Salvador was always going to be the end result. There is never going to be a world in which this is an individual who's going to live a peaceful life in Maryland, because he is a foreign terrorist and a MS-13 gang member. Not only have we confirmed that, President Bukele yesterday in the Oval Office confirmed that as well.
So first it's confirmed, and then she goes on to it's alleged.
He went back to his home country where he will face consequences for his gang affiliation and his engagement in human trafficking. I'm not sure what is so difficult about this for everyone in the media to understand, and it's appalling, truly appalling, that there has been so much time covering this alleged human trafficker and
but I thought it was confirmed.
This gang member, MS-13 gang member.
All right, enough of that. I
thought other people from the administration said that it was a mistake. Like they openly admitted it wasn't.
Right. Yeah. And this is kind of what I wanted to drill down on. Like, it's always clownish. Mussolini's rise to power was clownish. Like, dude, it's a fucking joke. But they do control the apparatus of state violence and suppression, though. So that's kind of why, that's kind of like what we look forward to. It's a clown show. It's like a violent clown show that's coming for your ass, too. So anyways, guys,
the fascism would be so stupid is what everybody needs to remember, is that the fascism is going to be terrifying, but it's also going to be really stupid, because that was so confused and made no fucking sense. It made no fucking sense. She hasn't checked in with her Israeli handlers, I guess, lately, because even they, as clownish as they are, still have their talking points a little bit more memorized.
Right. But yeah. So anyways, now that we're talking about talking points, and we've kind of established that all of this controlled state violence, that while clownish, is also connected. And this brings up this Haaretz article from last week that caused so much backlash. And it is the Real Housewives of Hasbara. When the Gaza war is good for business, a wave of women influencers have transformed into super engines of Israeli advocacy since October 7th. The Hasbaristas seamlessly blend lifestyle content with nuance, free Zionist activism. Are they good for Hasbara? Was Hasbara ever good for Israel? It's a really great article by Rachel Fink. I mean, nothing revolutionary there you're going to find there, because Haaretz is a liberal Zionist magazine that occasionally does some pretty good reporting. But anyways, so
I didn't get you. There was a paywall on the link you sent me, so I couldn't read the whole article. And I wasn't about to give Haaretz my money, So
yeah, no, I subscribe to all of that, including like Truth Social, so you guys don't have to. But yeah, so we can get into the article. I don't want to focus too much on it, but there are some like influencers, and I kind of want to talk about this phenomena that's happening. And this is why I try to talk about to people on the right who are very anti-Israel. It's like, look at these kind of influencers who are using the war in Gaza to make a bunch of money. It's almost like this entire thing, this atrocity propaganda, the bombs falling, the economic system, it's all connected to capitalism. Like there is nothing more capitalist that I've seen than these momfluencers selling diet pills and talking about October 7th.
Yeah, and they said, that they were Israel approved $150 million budget for 2025 for Hasbara. Like, it's clearly they're spreading it around. There's a lot of profit to be made in doing that.
Right. And we've got some pretty big influencers here. Just to put everybody on the page about this, like we've got Lizzie Savetsky. She is one of the big ones. Okay, hang on. Yeah, she's got like million followers across. Okay, well now you have, because she's a very polarizing figure. Her fans hail her as a Jewish lioness, a modern day Queen Esther, as one website recently enthused. But she's also dedicated a contingent of detractors who accuse her of distorting facts, defending Israeli military action that some classify as war crimes, and even leveraging her children to have emotional responses. And what this article talks about is it's kind of like these accounts are like whiplashes, because they'll like the two young twins who died in Gaza, or whatever their names.
Yeah, the Bebis.
Yeah. It'll be like that one post, and then next like thirst trapping in a bikini as well. So just to demonstrate what these what
I was laughing because, first of all, I am familiar with her. How I became familiar with her, she's honestly really scary to me. Like her eyes look demonic.
I know,
like really fucking scary to me. And I know people do get twisted, and I totally understand it. Trust me, when people comment on especially women's appearances, but I can't ignore how demonic she looks, like a fucking demon. I'm sorry. So anyhow, I became familiar with her because she did this incredibly embarrassing propaganda video where she walked around Times Square and showed billboards of a pro-Palestinian anti-genocide company that had just put up billboards that said, like, with facts, this is how many children have been killed in Gaza. And she's like, I'm here in Times Square with these Hamas propaganda billboards everywhere. It's really unsafe. Just like standing in front of like the Disney shop in Times Square. I was like, I thought it was a joke at first. I thought it was a parody. And then somebody was like, no, she's a influencer.
Yeah. And real quick, before we get into this, and actually look at the kind of Hasbara that she's pitching, you said she looked like a demon. Well, I kind of like grew up with the whole Dracula thing. I'm loosely related to Bram Stoker. She really reminds me of Lucy Westenra after she dies and is born again as a vampire. Check this out. I'm not trying to nerd out too much, but I'm just going to put this in your headspace before we start looking at the interview. Yeah, like this is a good one right there. So
right,
yes.
Okay,
yes.
So now I would never stoop so low to do ad hominems. I just thought I'd nerd out about Dracula real quick. Anyways, Here we go.
have had trouble crossing the street at times because of these protests. One of them was on the day of Hersh Goldberg Poland's funeral, that's hostage, and they were waving Hamas flags on the day of his funeral. I was with my children and we couldn't even cross the street. At that point, I said, I've had enough. And we had heard our previous government administration say things like, oh, these protesters are expressing exactly what the human emotion should be, defending and sympathizing with these protesters. So thank God now we have President Trump, who is not tolerating this, and they're pulling federal funding. They just pulled federal funding from 3 more campuses yesterday, Cornell, Brown, and Northwestern. We're finally seeing consequences. These protesters
this was from 2 days ago.
Are so unhinged and they can get violent. We had certain situations that have led to hospitalizations of people on these campuses. It's normal to be afraid. I think that's a normal human reaction. But what I've also seen is just a complete display of Jewish pride. I think if anything, that all of this chaos on campus is making Jewish students lean more into their Jewish identity, lean more into their Jewish community, want to put on a bigger Star of David and just say, we're here, we're proud, and we're not going anywhere.
Michael Rappaport has plenty. He's got like 50 giant Star of David necklaces if you need one.
So, yeah, Jacob, your response to that sentiment, that it's like bringing the Jewish, all this is bringing the Jewish community together. Like, what do you think?
I mean, it's just such self-victimization bullcrap that she's putting out there. Like, have you ever been to a pro-Palestinian rally, like especially in New York? You know, the Zionists show up and they're trying to antagonize people. It's this constant like, boo-hoo-hoo, woo is me, like we're under attack, and it's all a bunch of BS. And you know, I don't think it's, you know, obviously they don't like pro-Palestinian Jews. Like, I've been ostracized from the community as a result of standing up for Palestine, but I know I'm not alone. I know we're on the right side of history, and it's just a disgusting shame what people like her and other Zion Nazis are doing to basically make the reputation of Jewish people bad. Like, you know, that they support, like we're all one monolith, which is obviously not true.
Yeah. Well, hang on. I'm about to show you the most unhinged argument. Did you celebrate Hanukkah this past year?
Yeah, we lit the candle.
Okay, cool. Well, did you know that makes you a Zionist? Okay. Here we go. Here's another one. Wait. Here we go.
How stupid do you guys look? Wishing people a happy Hanukkah, lighting the...
So if you're just listening to this is a Hasbarista arguing that Jewish Voice for Peace, because they celebrated Hanukkah, are actually Zionists. So
how stupid do you guys look? Wishing people a happy Hanukkah, lighting the Hanukkah candles. Okay, dum-dums. I mean, how stupid are you? Celebrating Hanukkah is literally celebrating the success of the Maccabean revolt. When Jews tried to fight against the colonizers of the land of Israel. I'm sorry, I can't. Best Hanukkah gift would be if somebody let me debate somebody from JVP. His name is literally Judah the Maccabee, like Yehuda. Happy Hanukkah, JVP, you're all officially Zionists.
I don't think she really wants to actually debate someone from JVP. I don't think she wants that smoke.
No.
It's their arrogant. They all have the same, like, very arrogant, like, I'm 100% right tone, which is just, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. Like, they all of them kind of cookie cutter in that way.
Right. And what's your guys' take on how the like information war is going about this? Because, you know, they, as you mentioned, they've greenlit an absurd war chest to push more Zionist propaganda. Do you think like both of your takes on this, do you think it's past a point of no return, or do you think we're just going to keep seeing this and this is going to remain part of the narrative going forward forever?
Well, I think they live in an echo chamber, like, and I think most people have seen through it. Because as far as the media war goes, Palestine, pro-Palestinian movement is definitely winning. I think there was a survey study just came out that showed it, the amount of Americans that have negative views of Israel went from like 43% to like 53% in the last like 3 years. So that's showing that, you know, we're going the right direction of people waking up, but it's just going to take time. And like, luckily, this kind of content, I think, only works on the people who are Zionists and embrace white supremacy.
Yeah. I think I think it's amazing that they're spending this much money on their Hasbara budget, and this is the best they have. Because none of these people are even good at what they do. They're not. Like, if I were on the hiring end of the Hasbara, I would be very upset with the fact that these people are what you have. This is the best that you've got. Because all of them, not only, as Jacob said, come across condescending as fuck, they're all terrible actors. Like,
very
Noah
bad
Cushing
actors.
running around in her incredibly expensive watch and purse going, "This is Israel for you." Like,
Right.
it's insane bad acting. That woman that you just showed, the one who looks like a demon, she's like, they sound like a joke. "I'm afraid to cross the street." You're
Their
afraid
emotions come off so fake, Blakeley.
Yeah.
Like it's so like I'm not even being facetious. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a Zio influencer shed a tear about October 7th or anything like
No.
that. Like, I've never seen them post any, like, they don't care. They just use it as a political fodder to justify what they're doing to the Palestinians.
Right. And what people should understand, and, you know, I'm saying this too, as somebody who was very gettable, you should say, by either side when this first happened. I was extremely gettable if they had had better propaganda, because I came into this believing all the shit I'd learned about Israel when I was growing up, which was all positive and negative about the Palestinians. And one of the things that really started to make me understand how insane they are was them. It was people keep saying
themselves.
Themselves. It was them. It was watching their lunacy, watching their TikToks, watching the IOF dance and smile as they blew up buildings, trying on women's clothing, women being like, "Oh, look at how we're cooking. Come with me while I cook for the IOF right over the border of Gaza, the death camp." And I'm like, wait, what? It was them, which is why I think it's so funny when they'll go, "Oh, you're just falling for Hamas propaganda." It's like, it's actually you that's really not helping your cause, actually.
Right.
And I'm really glad you brought up bad acting of the Israel activists, the pro-Israel activists. They really are dealing with top-notch talent. Here's Gal Gadot.
Right.
Campaign to fill the Nile. Kalel, no. Max Lord, you're putting yourself and everyone else in grave danger.
I think Javier Pena is just looking at her during that scene, like responding is like, how am I on stage with this person? How am I on stage?
Right.
Need you to give me the stone.
What's that?
Apparently, it's the lowest ranked movie on IMDb ever.
Oh, the Cleopatra movie, or the
Snow White.
The Snow White movie.
Oh yeah.
What happened to it?
Yeah, you're right. He's in disbelief.
Yeah,
He's like, I gotta act alongside this.
Yeah, like, what even is happening?
What did you say?
Here's Snow White.
So exciting. Very interested to find the men who brought those.
Why should I help you?
Because we're asking you nicely. Just tell me what it costs to get her away from me. Name a price. I'll buy the whole damn boat if I have to. Who are you? The lasso of Hestia compels you to reveal the truth.
Not the lasso of Hestia.
Now, who are you?
Anyways, I can watch that reel 1,000 times. It's like, I kind of wanted to circle back to what you said. It was the Zionists, the pro-Israel supporters themselves. It's like there's something completely soulless about everything I just watched in that clip.
It really makes you think. When I saw that clip, because it was only recently, and I'd never really seen any of her movies. I was like, how is this real? If I saw this, I would think, oh, she must be related to the director. Because how else did she get in this movie? This woman cannot act.
Well, she literally just paid for her own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, because I didn't know this. Apparently, people pay for those. That's not, like, you pay $75,000 fee, and then there's a yearly fee to maintain your star on there. So it's not like she got it through good acting or anything like that. That was probably Israel probably covered the fee for her, you know, because they're obviously she's their shining star for in American movies, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know if you want to get into this, but you just came back to the States for an acting gig or something?
Yeah, I was working on a show, big Hollywood show. I can't say exactly what it is, until it airs and everything. But
So that's pretty impressive that you're getting bigger gigs now, especially with your dirty terrorism activism. Are you
I
surprised?
mean, ironically, I booked more legit TV film work in 2024 than I did in previous years.
Wait a second.
I'm sure there's been situations where my support for Palestine has maybe not gotten me an audition or something like that. But I've been booking and stuff, and very happy. And
But Jacob, we were told by Michael Rappaport that he's not getting any gigs because
it's because Hollywood is obviously a Muslim pro Palestinian pro H group society. That's why I made a call to the people. Yeah, what she's talking about, chat, is he came out today and he was crying about how he's not getting gigs in Hollywood because of his pro-Israel views. Because of his pro-Israel views. What? I mean, he might not be getting it because maybe the studios are looking at people like him and Gal Gadot as a liability now, because any project they're associated with is going to get boycotted by the pro-Palestinian movement. So I'm very happy about that they're looking at those people as problems to bring onto their project.
So do you see a shift coming? Because I'm very torn about this. Like at one point, I'm like, yeah, they lost control of the narrative. They're never going to be able to recover their like soft power, their influence in the same way. But at the same time, we have the current administration now deporting people, calling them terrorists, but also we're terrorist supporters. So it's kind of like, yes, there is something hopeful about it, but it's also
Hollywood is definitely like, a lot of Jewish people run Hollywood, and a lot of them are Zionists. But I every passing month, you see more and more celebrities starting to speak out and be not afraid. And, if we're all speaking up, like, what are they going to do? Like,
I actually don't think it's helping them as much as they think, because think about the pro-Palestine activists are just doing it because we actually care about what's happening. They're having to pay millions and millions and millions of dollars in order to prop up and astroturf all these incredibly bad actors. And it's not, I don't think it actually is helping them, because like we talked about earlier, by polling data, they're losing support and they're not doing anything to help their case. Do you think that suppressing people's speech and deporting them is going to help? I mean, I don't think that this is helping. They're basically like literally telling Americans, you're not allowed to criticize this foreign government. And if you do, we'll disappear you, or we'll fire you, or we'll take away your social media. You think people don't notice or see that?
Yeah. It's pissing people on the left off. It's pissing centrists off. It's pissing people on the right off. Of course, like some people on the right hate Israel for problematic reasons. But I don't think they're going to get any new supporters. At the very least, we could say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, this is a movement that's going to take decades. It might take the rest of our lifetime before Palestine is free. Like, for as long as Zionism has existed, it might take just as long to get rid of it. But, the important thing is we're at the turning point in history, and, justice does lean towards the light.
Right. And I suppose one point I wanted to make before we circle back to these Hasbaristas, of course, Noah Tishby is the queen bee of that entire ecosystem. And we're going to look at it. There is a kind of like a difference in content. If we look at the social media posts of people on the Palestine movement, like Stop Cop City, like any of these social justice issues, they're also not dual posting thirst traps and like cooking videos, being like, let's make, Jewish, like matzo ball lasagna. Because I think that's what I'm about to download by Noah Tishby real quick. But yeah, I was just wondering, do you think there's something completely like superficial about like the content being put out by these people? I guess that's a really basic question, but if you had like any penetrating insights into it, and like
I think a lot of the Zionist creators are using this moment to try and create an audience. A lot of them had no real following before October 7th. I differ in the sense that I've been viral since 2017. I've been around for many years. I had billions of views beforehand. So it's clearly like they found something that people respond to. You know, they need, like, the Zionists would love if I were on their side. Like, they would make me, like, I would be Noah Tishby level if I was on that side, because I make good content and people know me and I have a reputation and I have a big reach. But like all the content, and like even when they do attempts at humor, like their comedy skits, it's so painful to watch. Like it's always punching down and it's just very much just gross.
It's empty, like their attachment to the land of Palestine. Like it's just empty. It doesn't have any roots. It doesn't have any, because here's the thing. I don't actually think it is bad in and of itself if you're trying to push a propaganda message to do it through regular content. That's how people do effective propaganda, by doing things like, hey, we're just doing a day in the life, or we're going grocery shopping. Like that's how you get it to seep in. So it's not that it's necessarily bad if you were wanting to put out that type of propaganda to do it through regular influencers. It's that it's so obvious. It's that they're bad at it. Like it's not good. That's why they try to go after different influencers now that are not Jewish. Like I always forget that black guy's name that has the dyed blonde hair and he wears the deranged genocidal fake Israel Palestine.
Yeah, went to follow scene with Noah Tishby and stuff.
Yes, I forget his name.
I think, or something. Emmanuel, I think is something.
No, not him. He's a TikToker that, like you were explaining, didn't really have.
I forget his. We don't got to give him any promo here. So
well, we don't need his name then. But he's another one of those people that they kind of plucked out, along with that Iranian woman who does propaganda for them.
Oh, Elika Laban.
Yes,
yes. So real quick, she blocked me because I was working with Propaganda vs. Truth, that account that got deplatformed on Instagram, and we're like, she changed her name to be more like Western passing from an Iranian last name to Laban to be more like Euro trash, I guess, and to be more accepted there. But like, dude, her father literally works at an IRGC think tank, and she's just on a right-wing Zionist grift. Her family's like deeply embedded in the Iranian government. And when I pointed that out with receipts, she blocked me. So just a little thing about Elika Laban.
And this is another thing that I think Hasbara, Unit 8200, they like to do. They like to support like people like beautiful women, people who aren't white, you know, that will support the message, because it's like, whoa, an Arab guy who Arab Israeli saying that the Israelis hate Arab. Obviously there's something wrong here, or using sex to sell what they're selling, like, you know, like all these Hasbaristas, you know, like objectively they're pretty good looking, you know, and they know that people are going to eat up the message more from them than
not the demon one. She's not,
right.
But no, I think Noah Tishby's attractive, but also what I'm saying is that they're finding a little bit more success with those people, but not even as much. But they'll use people like that Elika woman who, and it's so funny because, again, when we're talking about people who are coming into this not having a history and not knowing, I remember like right after October 7th happened and I still was trying to figure out what was going on. I came across some of her videos and did not know she was a Zionist propagandist and was like, oh, like what is she saying? And she was like doing, and I at first, thankfully I undid this. But they do that on purpose, as Jacob was saying, using people of color, using Black people. Noah Tishby did that skit where she's like, guys, look at this gay, Yemeni, Arab, Palestinian, like where she's like naming all the things that he is in order to get you to understand, appeal to him. And the same, but at first it worked a little bit on me. And then I was like, wait, because at first when Elika Laban was talking, I thought, oh, well, she's Arab, so she must know something that I don't.
Right.
Saying that, or I would see like a Black IOF soldier and they would be like, this is the most diverse place ever. Would we have Black soldiers if we did? And I think that they know that kind of shit works on Americans. So at first I was like, oh, but then I was like, wait.
Right. Especially liberal Zios, you know, who have this.
So in case
they give a shit about, you know.
Yeah. I mean, talking about Hasbaristas, she's an Iranian, one of Iranian descent, which is really interesting. Also, pulling up my Twitter account real quick, going to her page, daughter of Iran, attorney, speaker, and
But they would love to see nothing more than Israel destroy Iran. Like, she's a proud daughter of Iran, but would love to see Israel just wipe them off the planet.
Yeah. Anyways, it says Elika Laban has blocked you. You can view public posts from Elika Laban, but you are blocked from engaging with them. You also cannot follow or message Elika Laban. So, anyways, she didn't like when I brought up certain things, but she's a foundational Hasbarista, and that's why the Zionists put her on Piers Morgan, because she's conventionally attractive and she can spew hate eloquently, and so
the same way they love to bring on the son of the Hamas founder, like
dude,
what's
that guy's
his name,
so crazy.
Speaking of scary, that guy is terrifying. Speaking of people who look evil,
I don't know if I ever go on with that guy, I'll be like, dude, I can see all like the evil shit swimming behind your eyes. You want me alone in an interrogation booth so bad, don't you?
Yeah.
He looks like, and I don't know if anybody in chat will like know what I'm talking about, but the cartoon that came out in the 90s, the late 90s, Anastasia, he looks like the cartoon Rasputin in that cartoon movie. That's what son of Hamas guy looks like.
Yeah. So real quick, just to kind of like round this off here, now that we got like 10 minutes left, I did want to kind of like go into the propaganda. I think Noah Tishby is probably like S tier in terms of the propagandists, because you talked about like this day in the life thing. Like, we're shopping, we're cooking, and just so y'all know, because we don't want to be in an echo chamber either, this is what they're literally cooking up. Come on, sorry, I'm bad at tech. I got like 50 zillion videos up right now. Here we go.
Passover, and we are here again today with Phil Rosenthal is here to eat with me.
My mother once made matzah lasagna.
Is it good?
We think she found this recipe in an anti-Semitic cookbook. Even the cat wouldn't eat it.
Do you have any favorite memory from Passover?
My family had some very Orthodox relatives in New York.
6 hours later.
Before a shtickle of matzah, before anything to eat. And all you're doing is, you're like, when do we eat?
We're using...
Yeah, so it's kind of jarring, as I said, seeing like those videos juxtaposed with like bomb more hospitals in Gaza.
It's also gross that, to me, the way that I just think it's disgusting the way that they use really cool parts of Jewish culture to do propaganda for a genocidal regime. Like, I've said this many times that I'm like, when people are like, oh, Jews are unsafe in New York or wherever, I'm like, no one has done more damage to Judaism and makes Jews more unsafe than clowns like that and the state of Israel.
Yeah. Agreed. I have the chat has a question for you, Jacob, saying that you're in the industry. Yeah. I wonder how long it will be before Hollywood produces an October 7th movie featuring the Hamas rape hoax, a spectacular lesbian heroine rescue scene, and Michael Rappaport as a Zionist Rambo. Thoughts?
I'm sure it's in the works. I'm sure that they're doing something to make that happen. It's a good pitch. Maybe we should copyright that, Skyjacker, before they take it from you.
You know what we need to do next time you're in New York City? We need to get a bunch of coke and write the screenplay.
Yeah, that'll make it happen. The funny thing is, me and Michael Rappaport used to be friends in real life. For the funny thing, we knew each other since 2017, since I went viral. I used to repost my videos and stuff. So
wow,
it's just fun. It's just fun, and we kind of look a little bit alike. So it's kind of funny. We both ended up on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to Palestine and Israel.
I don't think you guys look alike. I thought Michael Rappaport was like an Irish white trash Boston person. That's what I thought. I had no idea.
Well, you're right about the trash person, but
yeah.
He posts about me. He collabs on people's posts that make videos about me and stuff. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, did he? The other thing I was going to say is they haven't made an official Hollywood movie yet, but they did make that October 8th movie that they released.
Oh, yeah.
documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they pushed that. And it's crazy. Like that got distribution everywhere, but No Other Land, which is an Oscar-winning documentary, can't get any distribution in the United States. You know.
They're also pissed about the documentary film, The Encampments.
Yeah, we both saw that as well.
Yeah.
They're super salty that it's like the best-selling documentary.
Yeah, I just saw it in the theater like last week, and it was great. It was really, really good. I cried during it. Like it was hard to actually watch some of it, but it was moving.
Yeah, and it's just double infuriating for me because, like, you know, well, Greg, you went to we both are Columbia graduates, you know, so it's like very disturbing to see our alma mater like go down this route of fascism. And I just read a thing, I think tomorrow, that there's going to be a Trump official that's basically monitoring everything that goes on in Columbia to make sure that they fall in line with everything that they said they would, so they don't lose their funding. I mean, it's shameful.
Yeah, but then again, you know, when I was doing a tour, when I was getting out of the Army and I was applying to colleges, I went up to the campus, and, you know, on the tour, the student tour, they were talking up like how Hamilton Hall was occupied during the anti-Nazi protests in the 1930s. It was occupied during the Vietnam backlash. It was occupied during South African apartheid. And these are things.
But here they're wrong. But here the students are wrong. You know, on this thing, the students are wrong.
But what I'm saying is that always, if we look at Columbia University specifically, the administration was always incredibly hostile to any of these progressive movements.
Right.
I don't think there's been such a big crackdown, though.
Well, I saw an article from the 1930s in the New York Times that said that Columbia suspended students back then in 1936 or something like that. They were protesting the Nazis because they were doing and then they expelled the students for protesting against the Nazis.
Yeah.
So,
These places love to celebrate dissent and protest decades later, but they don't actually want to celebrate it or protect it at the time, because they had on their website proud, posts on their website about the apartheid protest that they took down after the campus protest. The way that Columbia University has acted is so disgusting, so pathetic, so shameful. Like, you're really good. That money, is that worth it to you, that you're going to allow yourselves to be just taken over by the administration and be an arm of the state? Like, please, if you're thinking about going to Columbia or sending your kid there, don't. Like, grow.
Yeah, and what is it? Is it going to be on just year-round lockdown? Like, you can't go to the campus now unless you have a student ID. Like, it used to. For those that don't know, Columbia has always been an open campus. Like, anyone could just walk through it, and it's created a real issue for the residents that live in that community because now they have to walk all the way around the university. But obviously, Columbia doesn't give a shit about the local community because, like, they've also been in the news with eminent domain stealing land from Harlem and putting housing and things of that nature on 125th Street. So, you know, they're no stranger to doing things that are wrong.
It's peak East Coast liberal behavior. Like, that's what Columbia University is. All right. Well, I know. Yes. Okay. So basically, just to tie everything off, we've got into the Hasbaristas. We talked about the intersectionality between this and the ICE and how they're just kind of fusing they're mobilizing the word terrorist. And while the Zionists might be losing the information war, it seems like the state itself is going to be ramping up its not necessarily like protection of Israel specifically, but they're using it as an excuse to enact more militarized surveillance and prison state. I don't know. Any last thoughts on all this? Any hopeful about anything? Pessimistic about anything? Like, where are you guys at?
I just love when us white saviors come together, you know, to be talking and chit chatting it up. You know, we need to. I'm just joking, chat. You know, the white savior Avengers over here.
Yeah.
I thought I know humor.
Go
ahead, Blakely. Sorry.
What? What'd you say? What I missed? What'd you say?
No, I was just saying I thought I was going to end it on a joke, but go right ahead.
No, go.
No, that was the joke.
That was the joke.
That was the joke.
Okay. I was going to say that I actually am hopeful about stuff. that even though it's really, really difficult right now, and it's going to be painful, and I think there is going to continue to be pain, whether it is in what's happening in Gaza, which actually that's just not pain, that's just horror, that's a Holocaust that's happening. But I do think that in the US, the empire is collapsing, and it's going to continue to collapse, and there's going to be pain, and we're seeing it. There's going to be, but I think that as a result of that, the United States empire collapse is going to, the reason why they're amping it up and they're being so disgusting and so fascist is because people are starting to see the cracks. And I think the same is with, I don't think that the Israeli regime can continue on forever the way that it's going. There's no way. You can't, I feel like too many people have seen now. So we might see it for a while more, but it is eventually going to collapse, just like the US is going to collapse.
Yeah,
Right.
and we can't give up, for Palestine. Like we obviously things are bad here, but they're not as bad as they are in Gaza and West Bank, and like we owe it to them to keep on fighting and using our platforms for good. And I hope that everyone watching keeps spreading the word and trying to be more active every day in this movement to try and help wake up the world and change things from this fascist road that we're totally living on right now. It's not even going down the road. We're here. We're
in it. Yeah.
in the
And that's
fascist state. Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to make clear, because I don't want people to misunderstand. I'm not comparing what we're dealing with in the US at all to what's happening in Palestine. What they are dealing with is a Holocaust. And we still, even with the crackdowns here in the US, are incredibly privileged. Even those of us who are poor or who are struggling are still immensely privileged, especially compared to what people are going through in Palestine and Gaza and in the occupied West Bank. And I think that we have a responsibility as Americans to continue to advocate for them and fight for them and fight against this fascism and our money being used to Holocaust them.
Right. And the best way to motivate people to do that is to be like, hey, man, you're next, bro. Get involved. You know, you should fight for Palestinians on their behalf, before it comes for you. So if you're just going to be a selfish asshole about it. But anyways, I think everyone here is capable of like empathy and so I don't think that's necessary for people in this chat. But that was an excellent call for action, guys. Thanks so much for your time. We are at the end of our little chit-chat conversation. You can find Jacob Berger on TikTok primarily and Instagram as well. Anywhere else? Anything you want to plug?
Jacob Berger actor there, and thank you everybody for supporting. Make sure you like and subscribe to every creator's thing, because obviously we know that social media does suppress anti-fascist, pro-Palestinian content. So if you want to support your favorite creators, just make sure you turn on their notifications, sign up, whatever it may be. We appreciate it.
Yep. And you can find I Am Blakeley. They're on Twitter, TikTok. Do you do TikTok too? And Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Still fighting with YouTube. Still fighting the fight with YouTube. But yeah, all of them.
All right. Well, you can follow
we'll
them.
post one of our videos tomorrow, Blakeley, because we met up when I was back in New York, Greg, and we shot a bunch of content, so always
that's
look
awesome
out for our little collabs,
All right, yeah. So be looking out for that video tomorrow, the next day. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks to our guests for their time. And we will see you next week on State of Play on MintPress News. And screw the Hasbaristas. See you next time.
Free Palestine. See y'all.